Yes! Yes! Come to Papa!
Yo, what is up everyone, and welcome back to another episode of History Behind the Horror. I'm your host, Tay. For tonight's episode, we're going to be talking about the Trickster from Dead by Daylight. I know I haven't been doing a lot of Dead by Daylight content lately. There's a lot of killers and also survivors that I have not covered, but I'm going to be covering very, very soon. But I had to check out this killer because if you just look at him, he needs OnlyFans. That is daddy. His name is the Trickster, and I will be going over his story tonight. Also, more DBD videos will be coming out a lot quicker, and maybe some gameplay or stream in the near future once they fix the matchmaking, because one, I can't find a match, and when I do, I run into cheating fuckers. So sit back, relax, and grab a snack, and make sure to like and also subscribe if you're new here. I could really use the support. And make sure you put in the comment section for what character you would like to see next, or what video you would like to see next here on History Behind the Horror. And without further ado, let's begin. ji-woon, Johnny Cage thrived under the attention of others, energized by every eye that watched him and every tongue that spoke his name. Amidst the prestige, he had only one desire: more. Even as a child, he found ways to draw crowds. Working at his family's restaurant, he attracted business with spectacles he performed using throwing knives. Gullible tourists believed this was a traditional South Korean experience, gladly parting with their money to witness it. His father spent the restaurant's earnings on dancing and vocal lessons for his son, pushing him to obtain the fame he never could, and he did not disappoint. After years of showcasing his abilities to nobodies at talent shows, he hit the track to stardom. Young-jin Lee, a producer at Mighty One Entertainment, recruited Woon into her training program. He transferred to a dormitory in Seoul where, for 14 hours a day, he was crafted into a star, taught how to move and sing, how to carry himself with the right balance of confidence and modesty. Training as the process was, it worked. Young-jin selected Woon to join the band No Spin, bringing a raw energy to their tracks. Fame was almost immediate. Woon lived in the days of interviews and adoration, and though the frenzied schedule exhausted his bandmates, he was invigorated. Each day was the affirmation that he was greater than the mediocrity society spewed out. Woon kept up impressions, mimicking a charm long buried under loathing. He recorded the latest No Spin album with his bandmates, never missing a beat. After a lengthy lunch break, he returned to the studio to discover fate had granted him a gift. The scent of burning wires was unmistakable. He rushed to the control room, finding the door blocked by fallen speakers. On the other side, his bandmates pounding on the door, their cries accompanied by the crackling of flames. Woon called to them, dashing to the speakers, grabbing one and stopping. He froze. Each breath was a conscious, deliberate process requiring all of his attention. The nearby cries hardly audible until, slowly, he backed away. And then he heard it. They were screaming his name as they burnt, screaming for him to save them. Johnny Cage. Johnny Cage. Johnny Cage. Yes! It was the most beautiful thing he had ever heard. When the fire crew arrived, his tears were genuine. Woon was celebrated as a tragic figure, a hero who did all he could in a futile attempt to save his friends. Young-jin paraded him through interviews until it was time to rebrand. He was reborn as the Trickster, a solo artist who produced his own songs, sporting a soft heart beneath a wild exterior. But away from concert setups and television stages, something darker grew. He targeted those who lived alone, coming to them in the night. First was a college music student with a captivating voice. Woon woke him with a baseball bat to the skull, binding his arms and legs, gagging him with a rag duct taped into his mouth. He tortured him for hours, dissecting him alive. Yet, there was something missing. A sound. A connection. He wanted to hear the victim's wondrous voice pleading as he cut his belly open. But all he received was muffled cries through a rag. He learned and adjusted. Victims had to be abducted, driven to an abandoned building where he could let their voices carry unrestrained emotion. He made music from them, prodding in the right places to evoke different types of shrieks and howls. Stabbing the carotid lumbrium gave a long, guttural wail, while slashing the carotid artery created a sound like a cat being strangled. There was honesty in their suffering. Woon recorded each session, synthesizing and working them into his songs, hiding them behind layers of melodies. He was elated with his work. He left hints for police, arranging a mink boa from a recent photo shoot around a victim's throat. For his next killing, he removed the teeth from a man that a boxer in one of his music videos was without. During a particular plea for attention, he killed a fan he had met during a VIP meetup, replacing her eyes with his diamond cufflinks and writing, "I have seen God" in blood across his chest. Each scene was a dazzling spectacle. Between music and murder, Woon's work was discussed globally. However, as violence became his preferred art style, his music career took a hit. Revenue was down and Mighty One exclusives pointed their fingers at him. Young Jin, with professional fury, came to his defense, but she was outnumbered. It was decided that Woon could no longer self-produce his songs. He had 3 months until he was to perform a private show for Mighty One's board members, 3 months to plan his magnum opus. He's transferred obscene amounts of money to a veterinarian in exchange for canisters of nitrous oxide, then bribed the stage technician of Mighty One's private theater for access to the room. His celebrity granted him a benefit of the doubt no regular person could conceive. When the show was ready, gas seeped into the room as executives and stagehands awaited Woon, conveniently running behind schedule. When he arrived, half-conscious bodies were sprayed in their seats and crawling across the floor. He worked quickly, binding everyone, pausing only when he came to Young Jin, the woman who had plucked him from a mud hole and set him on the path he deserved. She would be rewarded, granted special access to the coming display of wonder. Even under sedation, she fought, a raging storm within her, far stronger than the others. He propped her up as the lone audience member, prying her eyes open. The others, sniveling and sobbing, were brought on stage to perform their final act. With a contemplatable sneer, he slapped makeup on their faces and shone stage lights upon them. They became his instruments. To the sound of self-produced melodies, he tortured them, gracefully dashing from one body to another, conducting an operatic crescendo from their wailings. They shouted, whimpered, screamed, cried for their loved ones, cried for their mothers. It was a magnificent outpouring of emotion of what it meant to be a human, and they did it with eyes fixed on Woon. Viscera drained from the stage until the toss of his throwing knife, the final human instrument, fell silent and the music stopped. Covered in sweat and blood, an exhausted Woon looked to Young Jin and bowed. Curtain call. He had obtained perfection. With blade in hand, he made his way to Young Jin, prepared to tie up loose ends before the credits rolled. But as he reached her, the fog. Fog where? He didn't know, but it bellowed around him, damped, cool, comfortable. He saw the grand stage, hospitals and temples, forests and slaughterhouses, an eternal plain adorned with rusty hooks, sustained by the millions of eyes that would watch him, run from him, experience him. All he had to do was accept. Become an implement of the fog, and most importantly, make them scream. Encore.
간다.
감사합니다.